Today, exactly 57 years ago, in March of 1968, U.S. Congress passed legislation that eliminated the requirement for the Federal Reserve banks to hold gold certificates as reserves against their Federal Reserve note liabilities. And the U.S. government hasn't been accountable to anyone ever since. Well, in a bombshell discovery, I think we know why.
So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
Doge and Elon just found 14 magic money computers all throughout the government. It's no wonder that U.S. public debt is up to $36.6 trillion, up $14 trillion in just the last 5 years. Which is why on January 3rd of 2009, we needed a pseudonymous developer named Satoshi Nakamoto to develop magic internet money, a sly roundabout way to remove power from the governments.
So I think we can forget about existing money and existing banks, and we'll gradually open a system of accounts which will displace money.
That's a fascinating concept. Maybe the unit one day will be known as the Hayek.
I don't believe that we shall ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. And we can't take them violently out of the hands of government. All we can do is, by some sly roundabout way, introduce something they can't stop.
Did Hayek predict this 40 years ago? You may think that just because Bitcoin's price has been going sideways that nothing has been happening. You could not be farther from the truth. Some massive money moves have been happening under the surface. The market is transforming right beneath your feet, and I'm going to show you exactly how. As Warren Buffett says, the stock market is a transferring device from the impatient to the patient, and so is Bitcoin. What is your time preference? This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. Since the election, even after a 25 to 30% correction, Bitcoin has still been the best performing asset. Lots of things that are happening that are extremely bullish for Bitcoin.
There's the strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's the SEC pulling back on essentially every lawsuit. There's progress on stablecoin legislation. There's talk of market structure legislation. There was the White House crypto summit. These are game-changing positive developments that should put Bitcoin trading at $150,000 or $200,000 today. It's been suppressed because in the short term, this overhang of the economic uncertainty is weighing on the markets. I think if that is released, we're at new all-time highs quickly, and we're on our way to where I think we'll be at the end of the year, which is Bitcoin 200,000.
If we get to Wednesday's meeting and it looks like we're not going to see much relief from the government here in the United States, what happens?
If it's sort of the tough parent, stiff upper lip thing, I think it's going to be more market uncertainty. You could see Bitcoin go back to, 72,000 to its previous all-time highs. I don't think there's downside really below that. I think there's a great deal of support right there.
People like Matt Hogan from Bitwise believe that we will still see 200K Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only asset to ever be endorsed by the United States federal government. And now is the time that you're going to sell it?
The only asset endorsed by a president of the United States in 50 years is Bitcoin. I mean, go back in the last 200 years in the history of the country, and I think if you go to the founding fathers, they wrote in the Constitution that money is silver and gold coin. And then at some point there was a chicken in every pot, and maybe with the founding of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we endorsed everybody to single family home ownership. But in the 21st century, you have just one asset, Bitcoin. The president saying, don't sell your Bitcoin. Saying more than that, saying the United States won't sell its Bitcoin. And so everything else you put your client into, if the U.S. government seized any other security that you sold to a client, if they seized any collectible, any art, any real estate, they would sell it. The only thing that the U.S. government won't sell if they are to seize it is Bitcoin.
Let me give you some alpha that you're not going to find anywhere else. In a conversation between the founders of Presidio Bitcoin in San Francisco, Mark Casey, Wences Casares, and Alex Kouzakis, Michael Saylor dropped one of the finest gems that you need to understand about what's happening in the macroeconomy. He talks about all the different rooms that he's been invited into, even Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund rooms with billionaires, in which he says there's $5 trillion worth of capital.
What happens after the election? Well, so I get invited to be the keynote speaker at Cantor Fitzgerald Conference, which is Howard Lutnick's company, and then Howard bounces into the Commerce Secretary role. And I got invited, I went down to El Salvador 2 weeks ago because I was invited to speak to Carlos Slim's gathering of the 100 richest families in South America. Never got that invitation before, right? So everybody, here's what's going, and then I bounced back to Miami because I went to the FANA where I got invited by the chairman of Saudi Aramco, who runs the sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia with $800 billion, to speak at the Future Investment Initiative conference. And
what was the audience at that? Was that Saudi?
That was
Muckety Mucks?
the Saudi finance manager and like 50 sovereign wealth funds from Middle East, plus like 150 other billionaires, random ones, right? I won't name them all, but if they call it, it was like probably the most high-powered conference in Miami. And so then they invited me to that dinner, and I walked into the dinner, and it was probably like people with $5 trillion in the room, or 10 trillion. And you would love this one. They said, well, we need everybody to give us their best investment idea for the next 6 months. I was lucky. And I grabbed the microphone, and I said, Bitcoin's going from 200 billion to 2 trillion. It's going to 20 trillion, then 200 trillion. You guys need to buy Bitcoin, right? And I did the mic drop.
If you don't believe that these people are already starting to buy, then you're not paying attention. And I'm going to show you exactly why I believe that right after we thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Ledn allows you to unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin. Since 2018, they've issued over $9 billion worth of loans to 40,000 customers, and the average time to fund your account is less than 24 hours at just 18 hours. It's pretty simple. If you want $5,000 in your currency, then you post $10,000 of Bitcoin collateral. The loan process takes just 2 minutes, and you can trust them because they've never lost a single cent or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledn.io/borrow to get started with your loan process today. That's learn.ledn.io/borrow to get started with your loan process today. One of the most important things about Bitcoin is that it is sovereign beyond government control. But that's only if you take sovereignty of your Bitcoin by removing it from third-party exchanges and taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. That's protecting your generational wealth the right way. And the team at the Bitcoin Way will help you do this confidently, securely, and privately. Members of their team will walk you through 100% step-by-step self-custody to help you remove your private keys from exchanges. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team. You'll be glad that you did. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team by going to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. That's thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. Since December, UAE sovereign wealth funds have invested over $2.5 billion into Bitcoin. And there's more institutional adoption happening, like Bitcoin miners now becoming a major player in this Bitcoin treasury adoption strategy, as they now hold over 101,000 Bitcoin across the 19 publicly traded miners. Oh, and big players like Cantor Fitzgerald are now considering getting into institutional Bitcoin trading, according to Bloomberg. Oh, and companies like MetaPlanet continue to stack more Bitcoin. They just bought 150 more Bitcoin and are now the 10th largest Bitcoin treasury company in the world. Oh yeah, and to no one's surprise, MicroStrategy just bought another 130 Bitcoin. Not big for them, but how they did it is important. They sold 123,000 of their preferred strike shares in order to accomplish this. Oh yeah, in case you missed it, the IMF hasn't stopped El Salvador, and they continue to keep buying Bitcoin. Oh, and 12 U.S. politicians now support Senator Lummis' bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Oh, and the $4 trillion asset manager Fidelity says that Bitcoin is continuing to grow significantly. More businesses in 2024 use Lightning than ever before. So for all intents and purposes, there are a lot of good things happening in Bitcoin. You just have to be willing to see them. The global race to acquire more Bitcoin has already started, whether you're in the race or not. We've got 10 years before we hit the 99.9% point.
0.99 is January of the year 2035, the point at which 99% of the Bitcoin supply has been mined. The asset becomes effectively capped for all practical purposes because the last 1% comes out over 100 years. 0.99 between now and then you've got 10 years for the digital gold rush. You should get your Bitcoin before there's no more Bitcoin for you.
So when the world panics, you stay calm and stack on. Don't buy into the fear. Understand that the global monetary standard for the world is shifting underneath of our feet, and you probably don't even notice it. But that doesn't mean that it's not happening. Educate yourself and find the alpha in the signal in shows like these. Send them to friends, like, share, and subscribe to this show. And if you want to continue diving deeper on your Bitcoin journey, then I suggest that you come down with me and hundreds of other Bitcoiners across the country. In just 2 weeks, we'll be down in Dallas, Texas at the BitBlockBoom conference from April 3rd through April 6th. Hear from some of your favorite speakers in Bitcoin, like Parker Lewis, Guy Swan, Marty Bent, Bob Burnett. Get access to exclusive workshops where you can learn how to buy your first Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin at home, remove Bitcoin from exchanges, and get to meet some of your favorite Bitcoiners in real life, like things like the Range Day, or other events like the Saturday Casino Night. I look forward to meeting you guys in person. Get $100 off your all-inclusive ticket by going to BitBlockBoom.com and entering the promo code BBB25. That's BitBlockBoom.com and entering the promo code BBB25. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.